Earlier this month, a ranch owner named Mike Wright, who lived in rural Madera County, California, awoke to something terrifying Thursday morning. At approximately 3:30 a.m., one of his trail cameras captured this image. A man, covered in blood, gripping an axe as he moved through the darkness. It's like a scene from a horror movie. Wright did not discover the photograph until nearly 2 hours later. He stated that he did not recognize the individual, and upon seeing the image, immediately contacted local deputies. Authorities conducted a search of the surrounding area, but were unable to locate the man. They have since appealed to the public for any information regarding his identity or whereabouts. Owning roughly 1,700 acres of land, Wright is no stranger to trespassers. His property is equipped with security measures, and encounters with unknown individuals are not unheard of. However, he emphasized that this incident was unlike anything he had experienced before. What made it particularly disturbing was the proximity to an area his son occasionally hikes.
I think every neighbor has reached out to me to find out what's going on because of the fact that nobody wants somebody walking around with an axe. It's a mystery. Obviously the guy is up to no good. Nobody's out at 3:30 in the morning, a mile off a road, wandering around carrying an axe. That's not normal.
As the image circulated, tips and theories began to flood in. An enhanced version of the photograph reveals unsettling details. The man's clothing appears soaked, either with mud, blood, or both. There are subtle blood smears across his face, and his left hand seems heavily stained with blood, with 2 fingers ostensibly bandaged together. In that same hand, he appears to be holding a dark, unidentified object, his thumb resting firmly against it. Observers have also pointed out what may be a wristband, possibly medical in nature, wrapped around his wrist. Speculation has ranged widely. Some believe he may have escaped from a psychiatric facility. Others suggest a more benign, though still troubling scenario, that he may have been involved in a vehicle accident and was searching for help, carrying the axe for protection against wildlife. Yet this raises further questions. Why venture deeper into remote terrain rather than follow the road to safety? Another theory proposes he was hunting wild hogs, which are known to inhabit the area and are often hunted at night. This could explain the presence of blood, but it does little to explain the use of an axe to hunt pigs or his apparent disorientation. And then there is the most disturbing possibility, the one many are reluctant to dismiss, that the man had committed a violent act and was fleeing the scene. In the end, no theory fully explains what was captured that night. The man has not been identified. No victims have been reported. No clear evidence has emerged. Only this image remains, silent, ambiguous, and deeply unsettling. On September 28, 2025, the owner of a Mexican seafood restaurant in Albuquerque, New Mexico, reported a series of unsettling occurrences within the establishment. At first, the incidents were dismissed as minor accidents or coincidences, until surveillance footage began to suggest otherwise. In the first clip, a server is calmly pouring beer into a cup. Without warning, a separate cup resting on a nearby plate shifts on its own, sliding unnaturally across the surface. The server pauses, visibly confused, as if trying to rationalize what just happened. In a second clip, timestamped November 5th, 2023, at 7:52 p.m., a server is engaged in conversation with a customer while holding a bottle of liquor. Mid-sentence, the bottom half of the bottle suddenly drops to the floor, seemingly without cause. In the third recording, a waitress sets a beer bottle on the counter. Moments later, the bottle begins to rotate. It turns counterclockwise, then reverses direction, spinning clockwise, before shifting once more back in the opposite direction. The movement is deliberate, almost controlled, before it finally comes to a stop. Some viewers have attributed the motion to condensation on the table's surface, but such explanations struggle to account for the repeated changes in direction. The final clip is perhaps the most disturbing. Captured by CCTV in the restaurant's back dining room after closing hours, the footage shows an empty, silent space. Then, without any visible source, a low, guttural roar echoes through the room. Brief, but unmistakable. In a separate recording from the same area, faint whispers can be heard. The sound is indistinct, yet eerily resembles a voice murmuring a single name, Kevin. Skeptics argue that the footage is nothing more than a staged attempt to generate publicity. However, the owner did not disclose the name of the restaurant when sharing the videos, leaving little obvious incentive for promotion. Whether an elaborate fabrication or something far more difficult to explain, the footage leaves behind an unsettling question. What exactly is happening inside that restaurant when no one is watching? On the night of November 22, 1987, ordinary television viewers in Chicago witnessed something deeply unsettling. Something that felt less like a prank and more like a violation.
McMahon and McKinnon 14-0 Bears. Then the defense, which hadn't put up a sack in 12 quarters, finally did. Well, if you're wondering what's happened, so am I. Actually, the computer that we have running our news from time to time took off and went wild. So what we're going to do is start over from the top with the Bears and tell you once again.
During a routine sports broadcast, the signal suddenly cut out. In its place appeared a flickering figure. A man wearing a rubber mask resembling Max Headroom, the artificial TV personality known for his stuttering digital persona.
Good morning, class. Cocology. The study of good taste. In fact, the taste that stands the test.
Yes.
The test where new Coke takes on Pepsi, i.e.
That's as in?
the new Coke Pop Quiz. Cokeologist. All others pay attention.
When Coke did take on Pepsi in nationwide tests, more people chose Coke over Pepsi. Prove it to yourself. You'll see why more people are choosing the taste of Coke. Catch the wave. Coke.
But this version was wrong. The lighting was harsh, the background, a spinning sheet of corrugated metal, cast strange shadows, and the figure moved in erratic, unnatural ways. There was no explanation, no warning, just intrusion. At first, the audio was distorted and barely comprehensible. Then, the signal snapped back to normal, leaving viewers confused, unsettled, and curious. But it didn't end there. Later that same night, the hijacker returned, this time interrupting a public television broadcast.
I'll get you a hot drink, miss.
Some dry
Just roasting. Oh, Jesus. What's the way? CBS. Oh, my files. Oh, I just made a giant masterpiece for all the greatest world newspaper nerds. My brother is wearing the other one. But it's naughty. You got footprints on it. Oh, they're coming to get me.
As far as I can tell, a massive electric shock he died.
What followed was far more disturbing. The masked figure rambled incoherently, shifting between nonsensical phrases and eerie, mocking tones. He referenced pop culture, made bizarre gestures, and laughed at things no one else could understand. At one point, he held up a can of Pepsi, as if performing for an audience that wasn't there. Then, without warning, the tone darkened. The figure bent over, exposing himself, while another unseen person entered the frame and struck him with a fly swatter. The sounds were real. The laughter, unhinged. It felt less like a joke and more like something you weren't supposed to see. After about 90 seconds, the signal cut to black, and then eventually the TV program resumed. No explanation was ever given. No one was caught. To this day, the identity of the hijackers remains unknown, but whoever it was must have had expertise in electronics and broadcasting. Pulling off the stunt required significant power. To do it, the pirates used stronger microwave signals to override the TV signals being transmitted from the Hancock and Sears towers. At the time, the incident did not go unnoticed. Hundreds of customers complained, which got the attention of the FCC and FBI who investigated the matter. What made the incident so unsettling wasn't just the breach itself, but the complete lack of control. Someone, somewhere, had the power to override a broadcast signal and replace it with something absurd, invasive, and deeply uncomfortable. And for a brief moment in 1987, they used that power, not to inform, not to entertain, but to remind everyone watching just how fragile the barrier is between what's meant to be seen and what isn't. For more episodes, be sure to like, subscribe, and click the bell icon for notifications.